Tonight on CTV News at 5.
I would say we are cautiously optimistic, but I think things are looking up.
Confidence boost even while costs soar. Small businesses hang on with hope.
It's almost cool to be drinking non-alc beer.
And beer without the buzz. A Moncton brewery proves zero alcohol can score with young drinkers.
It's crazy to think that we'd ever be saying that we have no one available for adoption.
Plus, demand outweighs supply. A Nova Scotia shelter has no animals up for adoption.
Partly cloudy with scattered flurries tonight. Frigid air starts to move in on Friday.
Live from the Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 5.
Good evening and welcome to CTV News at 5. I'm Maria Peno-Palace. Thank you for joining us. First at 5 tonight, holding steady despite rising costs and lingering uncertainty. Small businesses are keeping their chins up and focusing on a brighter future. As CTV's Vanessa Wright shows us, resilient business owners haven't given up hope for better days ahead. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Maria. They sure haven't, but they are coming off the heels of a pretty tough year. And while a new report shows business confidence is up, that isn't necessarily the case for them all.
Restaurant owner Costa Ellis calls 2025 a decent year for his business.
There was a lot of uncertainty with respect to the political climate and what was going on in the U.S.
But his main concern was the rising cost of food. The fear that prices will go up and stay up is a worry that spills over into this year.
And when you hear it from your customers and you see it on your invoices that are coming in, you're sensing an uneasiness on increasing pricing.
Across town at this retail shop, store manager Ellen Giberson is holding steady too.
We are always going to be optimistic. We're always going to hope for and lean on a bright future. If we didn't take into consideration the past 2 years, it would not be wise of us. I would say we are cautiously optimistic, but I think things are looking up.
A new study by the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses shows confidence is up across maritime businesses.
So for the first time now in 2 years, we're seeing a glimpse of optimism in there. And we hope that this is going to stick along and translate into positive results.
Though he says that optimism varies.
And then when it comes to the hospitality industry, which includes restaurants, you could see some lower confidence score, especially in the short term.
According to the report, 70% of businesses say tax and regulatory expenses continues to weigh heavily on growth projects.
Overall, what we're seeing is that while many industries were in that situation in some degrees, we're seeing just a slight uptick in optimism. It doesn't mean that the mood is completely changed, but it means that, there's I think some stability and some practicality of what they were feeling in 2025.
Ellis is hopeful for the year ahead, but he's not so sure his 2026 will look any different.
I'm still holding up my cards pretty tight and hopefully a decent year.
Now, the CFIB says some businesses are hopeful a positive tourism season will mitigate some of the challenges they face ahead. Maria.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Vanessa. CTV's Vanessa Wright for us in the news center this evening. All right, heading over to the anchor desk now where Bruce Frisco is standing by. Bruce, small business, it's tough even at the best of times, but these days with rising costs and wages and so on, it's a tough go for sure.
Very, very much to think about for sure. Thanks, Maria. Coming up tonight on CTV News at 6, the family of a young girl struck and killed by an impaired driver a number of years ago is angry that he has now been released from prison. Colin Tweedy sentenced to 4.5 years behind bars in connection with the death of Talia Forrest, but he was released after spending less than a year and a half. We've got details and reaction from the family tonight, CTV News at 6. Also tonight, New Brunswick officially has a Minister of Seniors. Advocates have long felt that seniors' issues were getting lost in the mix, so news of a dedicated minister is welcome. What will this mean for seniors in that province? We'll give you some answers tonight at 6 o'clock. And also tonight, a French energy company is trying to get in on the ground floor of Nova Scotia's budding offshore wind sector. The partnership would offer training to students looking to work in the renewable energy field in the years ahead. We'll have details on that coming up tonight. on CTV News at 6. Not a particularly windy day around here, but nice and warm, actually. I guess ahead of something different.
Well, that'll be it for the milder temperatures, Bruce, because after today, they're gone for the foreseeable future. And it was mostly just mild for parts of Nova Scotia, the south of New Brunswick, few areas of PEI for today. Almost the entirety of the Maritimes, though, had a snowy start to the day. Now, in a lot of cases, that snow amounted to a few to several centimeters. However, it did total higher for a couple spots, including in around the Truro area of Nova Scotia, where there was a report of around 10 centimeters of snow, and around Fredericton, where some of the snowfall amounts came in the range for around 10 to 14 centimeters. So certainly some snow-covered roads out there to start today. For Nova Scotia, the last part of that snow did turn over to some rain. As you can see, the temperatures getting onto the plus side of the scale there. Now between 1 and 4 degrees. A few on the plus side of the scale around the southwest New Brunswick. Charlottetown's at +1, but then at or below freezing for the remainder of the Maritimes. Checking in on the wind chills, nothing too standout-ish with those at this time. That's because the winds themselves are not particularly strong, and we don't have cold air that's moved firmly into place yet. The winds are being sustained in a lot of cases between 5 and 20 kilometers per hour. We're getting a few gusts reported between 30 and 40. Taking a look at things on radar and satellite, the last of the snow-rain mix is clearing out of Cape Breton. Now in behind it for tonight, there'll be partly cloudy skies and scattered flurries, and temperatures that'll be returning below zero across the entirety of the Maritimes. So be careful about any of those wet or slushy surfaces. I know there's a lot of wet surfaces out there right now because we had that snow that added up during the first part of this week, and then of course the milder temperatures, so snowbanks beginning to melt a little bit. Conditions there could certainly turn icy as we make our way through the night. Scattered flurries, as I mentioned, coming in along a polar cold front, and once that cold front crosses the Maritimes, which will happen on Friday, we're going to have some very cold air that moves into place. You can see that indicated here through the bright blues and the whites, kind of centered right now around parts of Manitoba as well as northern Ontario. So in behind that front, that's going to move over the Great Lakes region, and then we're going to be getting into that Friday night and for the weekend, which is why it is a frigid weekend in the forecast and potentially some snow to watch out for Sunday night into Monday. I'll have more on the weather forecast, though, coming up a little bit later on. Maria.
Wow, winter has certainly arrived. Thank you, Kaylin. All right, here now is a preview of the story coming up after the break.
I'm Josh Smith in Dieppe. This brewery here behind me is brewing something pretty unique, and it's changing the ways customers are ordering. More on that coming up on CTV News at 5.
Enjoy an unforgettable evening at the 2026 Inspired Gala and Auction February 18th in Halifax. Celebrate Special Olympic athletes, coaches, and volunteers, featuring special guest Loretta Claiborne. For tickets, visit specialolympicsns.ca.
Welcome back. So a former Maritime hockey player dealing with life after multiple concussions suggested adding a zero alcohol beer to the menu of his favorite brewery. As CTV's Josh Smith shows us, it was good timing since they've noticed a surprising shift in what customers order.
3 years ago, Dieppe native Alex Noel partnered with a local brewer to produce a non-alcoholic craft beer. For the former hockey player, the ambition to cut back on alcohol wasn't a trend. It was a health decision.
I've had 8 concussions. 7 of the 8 were hockey related. I was dealing with a lot of post-concussion syndrome issues, and a lot of it was just, pounding migraines for no particular reason. And alcohol was a big contributor to those migraines.
But drinking beer was never just about the effect.
The social aspect of drinking is kind of what I preferred the most. It wasn't necessarily about the effects, but more about being with friends.
Noel brought forward a unique approach. Instead of brewing beer without alcohol, the beer is fully brewed. Then the alcohol is extracted.
I was actually shifting to research around non-alc production and try to achieve and really get that quality standard that craft beer drinkers expect.
Noel says studying this concept in university helped shape the idea, but the brew house here did not anticipate how the product would take off.
It's crazy to us in the sense that we launched officially April of 2025. So to have a product show up and in 8 months become 14% of our business is pleasantly surprising. And
Co-owner Brian Harriman says the goal of keeping the taste without alcohol is paying off.
To our knowledge, we're the only craft brewery in Canada that has this technology. It tastes just like the originals, and I've had the good fun to trick my friends by serving them non-alcs and later on asking how they like them, and they say, oh, these are great.
The brewery says the demand isn't limited to January.
But our biggest month of the year for sales was July. So what it tells me is in those summer occasions, those backyard barbecues on the golf course, whatever it is, people are choosing to mix in non-alc with their other regular choices.
And offering options without taking away flavor. Josh Smith, CTV News, Dieppe.
Brilliant. I love that.
Yeah,
A lot of people are going to be like, which brewery is that? It's Pump House. Pump House, Pump House.
There's a lot of great ones out there right now.
Yeah.
I know I'm always picking up a few as well because at this stage of my life, I don't want anything approaching a hangover, like not within a 10-foot stick. So
Right.
I'm very careful. But yeah, they've got great flavor for sure. So
Excellent.
nice to have the
Yeah.
option.
Looks like they're on the cutting edge for sure. All right. We have a lot of weather to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we had a mix of some wintry conditions today in the Maritimes. Some areas picking up actually a fairly decent amount of snow, including around the Fredericton area. Other areas like much of Nova Scotia, snow turning over to rain. We can see a little bit of wet snow falling here near the nature trails, close to the Sydney area. And I'll have more of the forecast coming up after the break, which is going to include some of the details of the bitterly cold temperatures that we're expecting this weekend.
Feed NB is now the proud owner of a refurbished Purolator delivery truck, donated free of charge. The truck was recently pulled off the road by Purolator, revamped, and then handed over to the food bank. It was dropped off earlier this week with staff getting a tour and already looking ahead to how it will help them serve the community.
We'll be using it for various things such as drop-offs as well as pickups, such as food drives. So it'll help out greatly if we can actually go through to the different food banks, in through the community, in through locally, soup kitchens, as well as the different shelters as well.
Purolator says this is part of a broader effort, donating 8 refurbished trucks to food banks right across Canada in an effort to help organizations like Feed NB deliver more food to people who need it most. What a super initiative, and what a great way to use an old truck. Hey, Kaylin?
That's great. That's fantastic.
Love it.
You know, because you always think about donating to food banks, but I've never thought about the needs when it comes to their logistics and transportation.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I'm sure they're very happy to pick that up from Purolator.
Everything helps for sure. Now, you have had an incredibly busy day in the news center, and it looks like it's going to carry into the next few days. Yeah.
Not going to slow down anytime soon, that's for sure. We're looking out here at the eastern passage of Nova Scotia, where today's conditions started snowy but ended soggy as Nova Scotia saw that snow turn over to some rain throughout the day. Taking a look at our weather systems map right now, barometric pressure is a little bit towards the lower side as we are now getting it behind that low pressure system that saw us get a mix of precipitation. What's left of the snow and rain mix is clearing Cape Breton. In behind it, though, there will be some scattered flurries for tonight. You can see a couple of areas of flurries already showing up through a few parts of New Brunswick, but if we looked further towards the west of us, towards Maine, and towards Quebec and Ontario, there's some more flurry activity there headed in our direction. So that's what's in the forecast for tonight. Partly cloudy skies and scattered flurries. Temperatures getting colder region-wide. Those areas that are still above zero at this time will be falling back to and below the freezing mark as we make our way through tonight into tomorrow. For Friday's weather, a mix of sun and cloud, blustery winds, and some scattered flurries as that polar front comes through. It is going to be cold tomorrow on Friday, but temperatures would be what I would describe as seasonably cold. The bitterly cold temperatures, those arrive as we make our way through Friday evening, Friday night, and are in place through the weekend. One thing I want to note as we make our way through Friday night into Saturday morning, when that very, very cold air starts making its way into the Maritimes, starts coming in over the Bay of Fundy, in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Northumberland Strait, it's going to be generating some flurries. Those will be brought onshore by the prevailing west and northwest winds. And because the air is going to be so cold and the winds get gustier into Saturday, along with the flurries, a risk of snow squalls. And the risk will be highest for a few areas in particular, including around the Minas Basin in Nova Scotia, extending down through the Annapolis Valley and around the southwest of the province. the North Shore of Nova Scotia, the east of Prince Edward Island, and locations in Cape Breton. And not only do some of those areas need to watch for some snow squalls on Saturday, but the risk of snow squalls could carry on, especially for Cape Breton, into Sunday's forecast. So taking a look at a snowfall outlook, this is just over the next 24 hours. This is mostly for the flurries coming in for tonight. You can see that locally in some cases they could produce some additional snowfall amounts between around 1 and 5 centimeters. Here's a look at the winds, and for tomorrow the winds are out of the west and northwest. They'll be sustained 20 to 30 kilometers per hour with gusts between 30 and 50. But I want to move forward a little bit with that wind forecast, not only through the day on Friday, here we are Friday afternoon, but also into Saturday, just to show that as that front moves through across the Maritimes, the wind gusts actually increase a little bit, with gusts coming up to 40 to 60 kilometers per hour and out of the northwest. So wind chill is definitely going to be a factor Friday night and for the weekend. Low temperatures in the forecast for tonight. For New Brunswick, most of the lows falling into range around -8 to -13, and around -6 tonight for Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island. And most of the low temperatures for Nova Scotia tonight will be falling into range around -6 to 0. Here's a look at the high temperatures in the forecast for Friday. For southern and central areas of New Brunswick, -3 to -5. The northern half of the province, -5 to -8. -3 for Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island for tomorrow, and the high temperatures for Nova Scotia between -3 and +1. But here's a look at the high temperatures for Saturday. Yes, these are high temperatures. They're going to be in the range around -10 to -15 for Nova Scotia, -16 for Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island, and high temperatures between -17 and -19 for most of New Brunswick. Edmundston could actually see a temperature hold around -20 throughout the day. And in the forecast for Sunday, similar frigid temperatures expected across the Maritime region. Wind chill making it feel well down to the -teens and -20s, even in the afternoon. And then we'll need to watch for some snow to arrive Sunday night into Monday. Let's take a look at our weather watcher for tonight. And tonight's weather watcher is coming in from 5-year-old Millie Young from Ripples, New Brunswick. Millie has sent us a drawing of a beautiful spring day, tall and growing flowers under a rainbow. Thank you, Millie. And weather watchers can come into CTV Weather Watchers, P.O. Box 1653, Halifax, Nova Scotia, B3J2Z4, or email kaylin.mitchell@bellmedia.ca. Maria.
Thank you very much, Kaylin. So cold, snow, and sleet make winter driving challenging at times. CTV's Spencer Turcotte now has some timely tips when you're behind the wheel this season.
There's some ice. Before driving lessons even begin, Young Drivers of Canada instructor Keith Chin tells his students a circle check is a must, especially when there is snow and ice buildup.
Look around. Make sure your windshield and your roof is ice or snow free.
When snow and freezing rain starts to fall, there is one thing that Keith keeps at the top of his list to remind students of.
Well, we need to slow our speed down, and I would say much lower, like 5 to 10 kilometers lower. Again, it depends on the road conditions.
He also emphasizes the importance of a safe following distance in slick conditions because the time it takes for your vehicle to stop increases.
We try to keep at least a 3 to 4 second distance from the car in front of us, especially when we're coming into an intersection, when we're slowing down.
I'm going to leave some distance or space. It's something OPP Sergeant Ed Sanchuk said drivers were not doing on Wednesday as roads began getting messy.
People, too, are, again, riding each other's bumpers. They're trying to pass unsafely. Listen, if you want to end up in a ditch or become involved in a crash, that's a good way to do that.
He didn't mince words as he explained the factors contributing to crashes across southern Ontario, echoing some defensive driving tips, such as if your vehicle starts to slide.
Take your foot off that gas pedal, steer yourself out of that slide, and just take your time. Don't stare at the ditch. Don't stare at anywhere else except where you want to go.
He adds it's also a great idea to pack an emergency kit in the event you break down, crash, or have to pull over until conditions improve. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
Thank you, Spencer. Time for our final break here on CTV News at 5. But first, a preview of our final story.
Hi, McConvey here. A bite a while in Dartmouth. Coming up on CTV News at 5. Out of cats. Last year, this animal shelter was seeking help getting their older cats adopted. This year, it's quite the opposite. Demand is outweighing supply. I'll have more on that story coming up.
Mornings with Aaron and Peter. Join us tomorrow for another Foodie Friday, and we're giving away trip number 4 of 30 to Beaches, Turks, and Caicos.
Start collecting tomorrow's passwords at 6 a.m. on Move 100.
Welcome back. An animal shelter in Dartmouth has seen a huge demand for adoptions of all pets. In fact, as CTV's Emma Convey shows us, they have no animals looking for homes.
Usually this room is filled with cats of all sizes and ages. But today there aren't any available for adoption.
Today, yesterday, and the day before. We post them at 9:30 in the morning. By 10 o'clock we have a lineup out front, and by noon they're all adopted.
From dogs to cats to kittens, the adoption rate at this animal shelter just continues to climb. In all of 2025, 500 animals were adopted. In the first few weeks of 2026, they've already seen 30 find their forever home.
It's crazy to say, but today we actually have no one available for adoption. Everyone is either adopted and waiting to go home, or they're waiting for their veterinary health certificate.
It started picking up in the spring and hasn't slowed down. The longest stay so far has been 21 days. Although the majority are claimed the same day their availability is announced. Adult cats are typically harder to home, but not here.
Last year around this time, adult cats and senior cats or cats with medical complications were staying in the shelter a little bit longer than, your average kitten that is quickly scooped up by a fun-loving family. But this year, we're not even seeing that.
They attribute the boost in part to the companionship and mental health benefits pets can offer. Bite a While also offers incentives to foster older pets.
The palliative care program, if you adopt or foster a palliative care cat from us or dog, we cover the cost of all the medical visits, all of their medications.
Last year's wait list to adopt kittens was around 300. To get ahead of demand this year, they've switched from a wait list to a walk-in system. But they encourage potential adopters to check the website before showing up. Emma Convey, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Thank you, Emma. Not a year ago, we were doing stories about how there were too many animals in shelters, and today, what a thrill to hear that at Bite a While. Wonderful news.
Yeah, encouraging news, yeah.
All right, encouraging news, too, about the weather, maybe?
Well, as we talked about, it's going to be getting very cold Friday night and for the weekend, and then we have this potential nor'easter to come by, surprise, surprise, on Monday once again, so there is some potential for significant snowfall for the Maritimes with that. It's a bit of a complicated weather system, though, because it starts as a winter storm down the southern U.S., but I am going to talk more about it coming up in CTV News at 6.
We'll see you and Bruce and Katie at 6 o'clock. I'll see you tomorrow. The national news is next. Good night.